stop what you're doing right now. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and comment justice if you love jaw-dropping twists, because what happens next will shock you to your core. It was a humid summer morning, the kind where the air feels heavy with secrets, and the sunlight struggled to pierce through the thick clouds. Jamal woke up that day with no idea that his world was about to turn upside down. At 28 years old, Jamal had always considered himself the glue that held his family together, even though he was adopted. The son of a loving father who had passed away only months ago, he had grown up alongside his older siblings, always striving to be seen, always striving to belong. That morning, his phone buzzed violently on the bedside table. It was a call from a lawyer he didn't know well, someone his father had supposedly trusted to handle the final affairs of the estate. The moment Jamal answered, the lawyer's smooth, practiced voice sent an icy chill down his spine. "Mr. Jamal, we need you to come in. There are developments regarding your father's will," he said. His words clipped, but weighted with a strange gravity. Jamal's chest tightened. He had always assumed that his father, a man of unwavering integrity, would treat all his children equally, adopted or biological. The thought that he could be excluded from something so vital felt absurd, almost impossible. Yet, the lawyer's tone hinted at something sinister, something Jamal could not yet name. By the time Jamal arrived at the family estate, a sense of unease had settled over him like a thick fog. The mansion, usually a place of warmth and laughter, felt cold and alien. His adoptive siblings were gathered in the polished living room, their faces set with a mix of curiosity and concern. The lawyer stood near the fireplace, a clipboard in hand, his posture perfect, almost rehearsed. He looked the part of a trusted advisor, professional, calm, and unflinchingly confident, but Jamal sensed the hidden teeth beneath the smile. "Good morning, Jamal," the lawyer began, his voice smooth as silk, yet carrying an undertone that made Jamal's gut twist. "I'm afraid the news isn't what you were expecting. We've reviewed the will thoroughly, and—" he paused, letting the suspense hang in the air like a thick, suffocating fog. "Your father's estate is more complicated than you realize." Jamal's heart began to race. He had spent years loving this family, sacrificing moments, and sometimes even his own ambitions, just to fit in, to be accepted, to be loved. Now, suddenly, the ground beneath him felt like it could vanish at any moment. He swallowed hard, forcing a smile he didn't feel. "What do you mean?" he asked, trying to mask the fear in his voice. The lawyer's eyes flickered, just for a second, a crack in the facade, before he continued. "The will specifies that only the biological children are eligible to inherit the estate. Unfortunately, this means you are not included." The words hit Jamal like a freight train. His vision blurred, and for a brief moment, he couldn't breathe. The room spun around him, the polished floors, the familiar furniture, the smiling faces of his siblings, all seemed distant, unreal. He felt a sharp, bitter pang in his chest, a mixture of disbelief and betrayal. The family he had loved and trusted, the father he had adored, and the lawyer he had assumed was honest, they were now all entwined in a web that made him feel invisible, unworthy, and erased. Jamal wanted to speak, to argue, to demand answers, but the words stuck in his throat. All he could do was look around, searching for a hint that this was some terrible mistake. His eyes met those of his siblings. Some avoided his gaze, while others looked genuinely uncomfortable, like they were grappling with their own shock. For a fleeting moment, he wondered if they had known all along, if they had colluded silently with the lawyer to keep him in the dark. But Jamal's father had always been a man of principle. He had believed in fairness, in equality, in giving everyone their rightful place in life. This didn't add up. Something about the lawyer's story felt off. Too rehearsed, too neat. Jamal's mind raced. There had to be more to this. He remembered the nights he had spent with his father, the quiet conversations in the study, the life lessons passed down through stories and advice. His father had always said, "Justice is for everyone, Jamal, whether they're born of your blood or your heart." Those words echoed in his mind now, a lifeline of hope amidst the storm of confusion. Jamal took a deep breath and forced himself to regain composure. He thanked the lawyer politely, masking the storm of anger and suspicion boiling inside. As he walked out of the room, his hands clenched into fists. A plan began to form in his mind. He would not accept this. He would not let someone lie, manipulate, or rewrite his father's intentions. He had a right to the truth, and he was going to find it, no matter what it took. And just like that, the spark of determination was lit. Jamal didn't yet know how deep the deception ran, or how many secrets his father had left behind. But one thing was certain. This was not the end of his story. It was the beginning of a battle that would test his courage, his intelligence, and his resilience. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment justice right now if you want to see Jamal fight back, because the truth he uncovers will blow your mind, and you won't believe the twists coming next. Before we dive deeper into this shocking family betrayal, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and comment "Truth wins," because what Jamal discovers next will leave you speechless. Jamal couldn't shake the feeling that something about the lawyer story was off. The words, "only biological children inherit," rang in his head like a broken record, each repetition fueling a growing sense of disbelief and anger. His father, a man known for his fairness and unwavering moral compass, could never have intended to treat him this way. Not Jamal, the son who had shared every birthday, every achievement, every heartbreak with his family. Despite the initial shock, Jamal knew he couldn't sit back and accept this lie. He decided to confront the situation with calm and methodical action. As he left the polished living room, he felt the weight of every step. His mind raced, bouncing between hurt and determination. Something about the lawyer's demeanor, too rehearsed, too smooth, had sparked an instinct deep inside him. He was being lied to, and Jamal had never been someone who ignored his instincts. Determined to uncover the truth, he first returned home and began poring over every document he could find regarding the estate. His father had always been meticulous, keeping copies of letters, financial statements, and, yes, drafts of the will tucked away in a locked drawer. Jamal worked late into the night, his hands trembling with anticipation and frustration, flipping through pages, comparing clauses, and trying to piece together a puzzle that someone had tried to make unsolvable. The more he examined, the more the cracks in the lawyer's story began to appear. Certain phrases, carefully highlighted in the original will, had been misrepresented in the lawyer's summary. Words like all children, biological or adopted, were unmistakably clear, yet the lawyer had spun them into a false narrative of exclusion. Jamal felt a surge of vindication mixed with righteous anger. Someone had tried to manipulate his father's words to erase him, but he wasn't going to let that happen. At the same time, Jamal began speaking to his siblings privately. Some were shocked and sympathetic. Others were hesitant, torn between loyalty to Jamal and fear of confronting the lawyer. But slowly, the truth began to emerge. Jamal shared the documents he had found, pointing out discrepancies and inconsistencies in the lawyer's version of events. Eyes widened, hands trembled, and hearts raced. The siblings realized they had been kept in the dark as well, not out of malice, but because the lawyer had attempted to control the narrative entirely. Hit that like button if you've ever felt underestimated, because Jamal is about to turn the tables on the person who tried to erase him. The tension escalated when Jamal discovered even more evidence. Emails between the lawyer and a distant executor hinted at deliberate manipulation. Conversations where the lawyer explicitly discussed how to convince Jamal that he wasn't entitled to any inheritance painted a chilling picture of deceit and calculation. Each word, each line, fueled Jamal's determination. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a calculated attempt to rewrite his father's legacy for personal gain. One evening, Jamal confronted the lawyer directly, recording the conversation on his phone as evidence. "I know what you've done," he said calmly but firmly. "I know you've misrepresented the will. This isn't just about money. This is about my family, my father, and the truth, and I'm going to make sure it comes out." The lawyer's smile faltered, just slightly, as if he realized for the first time that Jamal wasn't an easy target. Jamal's confidence grew as he worked secretly, piecing together a clear, undeniable case. The more he dug, the clearer it became that this battle wasn't just about him. It was about setting things right for the family, proving that deception and lies could not win when someone had courage and intelligence on their side. The stakes felt enormous: a father's legacy, a family's unity, and his own identity were all hanging in the balance. He began preparing meticulously for the confrontation that would eventually unfold in the courtroom. Every email, every clause, every recorded conversation was cataloged. Jamal's mind sharpened into a precise weapon. He wasn't just fighting for his inheritance. He was fighting for truth, justice, and the honor of the man who had raised him. Don't forget to subscribe and comment "Justice Served" if you're rooting for Jamal, because what he does next will blow your mind and leave you on the edge of your seat. Despite the tension, Jamal found small moments of reflection. He remembered the nights he had spent with his father, the wisdom passed down in quiet, intimate conversations. His father had always emphasized resilience, integrity, and the courage to stand up for what is right, even when the odds seem impossible. Those words resonated deeply now, reminding Jamal that he wasn't alone, that he carried the strength and spirit of his father within him. The deception had been calculated, yes, but Jamal's determination was fiercer than any lie. With each passing day, he moved closer to uncovering the truth completely. The lawyer's confidence and smooth manipulation could not withstand Jamal's relentless pursuit. He had uncovered the cracks, and now it was only a matter of time before the foundation crumbled entirely. As he prepared for the next step, Jamal also began connecting with family friends who had known his father intimately. Their insights, memories, and records corroborated what Jamal had already found. His father's wishes were clear, fair, and inclusive. Jamal wasn't just an adopted child. He was a rightful heir, a beloved son, and part of a family whose legacy someone had tried to hijack. Every new discovery added fuel to Jamal's fire. His resolve solidified into a fierce determination. The deception would be exposed, the lies would be confronted, and justice would be served. The lawyer's plan had underestimated Jamal's intelligence, his courage, and his unbreakable bond with the father who had raised him. And soon, the moment would come when the truth could no longer be hidden, when Jamal would finally reclaim what was his, and in doing so, restore honor to his family's name. Comment below if you've ever been underestimated, because Jamal is about to uncover a secret nobody saw coming, and it will leave you speechless. After days of careful investigation, Jamal felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation gnawing at him. He had already discovered inconsistencies in the lawyer's claims and gathered documents that hinted at manipulation. But now, he knew he had to find the final piece, the absolute proof that would expose the lies and restore his rightful place in the family legacy. Jamal returned late one evening to the estate, determined to examine the will itself, clause by clause, line by line. The mansion, empty and silent, echoed with memories of a father's guidance, laughter, and occasional stern warnings. Jamal carefully opened the locked drawer in his father's study, his hands trembling slightly with the weight of what he might discover. And there it was, a codicil, a hidden amendment to the original will, meticulously handwritten and signed by his father. The words were unmistakable. "All children, biological and adopted, shall inherit equally from my estate." The document read. Jamal's pulse quickened. Every fear, every doubt he had felt melted away, replaced by a powerful surge of vindication and relief. His father's intentions were clear, yet someone had tried to rewrite them for their own gain. The lawyer's smooth lies, the whispers of exclusion, all of it was a carefully crafted deception, and now Jamal held the irrefutable proof in his hands. But discovery alone was not enough. Jamal understood that revealing this truth would require strategy, patience, and courage. He couldn't just confront the lawyer and expect the truth to be accepted immediately. This was a calculated battle, and the stakes were higher than he had imagined. The lawyer's reputation, the integrity of the estate, and the honor of the father who had raised him were all on the line. To strengthen his case, Jamal began compiling additional evidence. He revisited correspondence, emails, and internal notes he had previously overlooked. Each piece painted a chilling picture. The lawyer had actively schemed to manipulate Jamal, convincing him that the will excluded him and discouraging him from questioning the documents. Every call, every meeting, every carefully chosen word was designed to create doubt, fear, and compliance. But Jamal refused to be controlled. He documented everything meticulously, creating a bulletproof record that left no room for denial. Hit that like button and subscribe right now if you love seeing justice served, because Jamal is about to expose a betrayal so audacious, it will shock you. Jamal also reached out to his siblings, those he trusted implicitly. Some were initially hesitant, unsure if they should get involved, but as Jamal shared the codicil and other evidence, disbelief turned into determination. Together, they pieced together the full story of the lawyer's deceit, and each sibling realized how close Jamal had come to being cheated out of his inheritance. Bonds strengthened, and a united front began to form, with Jamal as the determined spearhead of truth. The emotional intensity of the moment weighed heavily on Jamal. He remembered the small gestures of his father, late-night talks, shared ice cream on summer evenings, words of wisdom whispered in confidence. His father had always believed in fairness, love, and equality. To see someone try to corrupt that legacy fueled Jamal's resolve. This wasn't just about money. It was about identity, justice, and honoring the man who had shaped his life. Armed with the codicil and mounting evidence, Jamal finally confronted the lawyer in a private meeting, recording every word. "I know about the codicil," Jamal said, his voice calm but piercing, "and I have proof that you misrepresented the will to exclude me. You may have thought you could manipulate the situation, but the truth is here, and it can't be ignored." The lawyer's confident smirk faltered for the first time. His posture stiffened, and a flash of panic crossed his eyes. For all his planning, all his scheming, he had underestimated Jamal's resolve, intelligence, and courage. The smooth veneer of authority cracked under the weight of undeniable truth, and in that moment, Jamal realized that justice was within reach. But Jamal knew this was only the beginning. Exposing the truth would require courage, persistence, and a willingness to face confrontation head-on. The lawyer had underestimated him, assuming that fear or confusion would silence him. Instead, Jamal's meticulous investigation, unwavering confidence, and loyalty to his father's memory had turned the tables entirely. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment Truth Wins, because what Jamal does next will shock you, inspire you, and keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. Jamal began preparing for the legal confrontation that would ultimately decide the fate of the estate. Every document, every email, every recorded conversation was cataloged, organized, and ready to be presented. Jamal wasn't just fighting for his inheritance. He was fighting to restore integrity, justice, and truth. Every lie the lawyer had spun, every attempt to manipulate him, had only strengthened his resolve. The hidden codicil became more than a piece of paper. It was a symbol of Jamal's fight against deceit and betrayal. It represented the father he loved, the family he cherished, and the principle that truth cannot be silenced. As Jamal sat in the dimly lit study, surrounded by the papers that held both the problem and the solution, he felt a sense of empowerment unlike anything he had experienced before. The hidden truth was finally revealed, but the next chapter, where this evidence would confront lies in the courtroom, was just around the corner. Jamal's journey had transformed from confusion and betrayal to clarity and determination. Now he was ready to reclaim what was rightfully his, not just for himself, but for the honor of his father and the unity of his family. Hit that subscribe button right now if you love seeing justice served, because Jamal is about to turn the tables in a way nobody saw coming. The day of reckoning arrived. Jamal walked into the courtroom with a quiet confidence that masked the storm of emotions roiling inside him. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from the anticipation of finally confronting the lawyer who had tried to manipulate him and erase him from his father's legacy. The courtroom was buzzing with whispers, and the air was thick with tension. Every seat was filled. Family members, curious onlookers, and legal professionals who had heard about the sensational dispute over the estate. Jamal's siblings flanked him, their presence a steady reminder that he wasn't alone. Each face mirrored the same mix of concern and trust that Jamal had felt growing up. They had been part of the journey, and now they would witness the truth unfold in front of everyone. The lawyer, sleek and self-assured just days ago, appeared tense. His carefully constructed confidence had been shaken by Jamal's meticulous research and the damning evidence he had compiled. He knew the codicil and the supporting documentation left no room for argument, but in the courtroom, he still tried to maintain control. Jamal's lawyer called him to the stand. He took a deep breath, straightened his posture, and began to speak, every word measured, firm, and unwavering. "Your Honor," Jamal began, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him, "I am here not just to claim my inheritance, but to reveal the truth about what has been done in my father's name. My father was a man of integrity, fairness, and love. The attempts to exclude me from his will are not only illegal, but a betrayal of everything he stood for." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. The judge leaned forward, intrigued by the young man's boldness. Jamal continued, presenting the codicil, carefully walking through each line, each clause, and highlighting the lawyer's manipulation. Emails, recordings, and documents that had seemed like ordinary papers just days ago now became a powerful narrative of deceit. Every piece of evidence pointed to a calculated scheme to misrepresent the will, to mislead him, and to undermine the intentions of his father. Comment below if you love seeing lies exposed, because Jamal is about to make the courtroom erupt. The lawyer attempted to interject, to argue, to deflect responsibility, but Jamal anticipated every tactic. He had spent nights analyzing every loophole, every possible counterargument, and he presented each with calm authority. His voice didn't waver. His confidence was unshakable. "This is not a matter of interpretation," he said, looking directly at the lawyer. "This is a matter of truth, and the truth is clear. I am entitled to the inheritance, just like every other child of my father, and every effort to manipulate that truth is invalid." The courtroom fell silent. Even the most skeptical observers could see the weight of evidence Jamal presented. His siblings, watching from the front row, felt pride and relief. Jamal wasn't just fighting for himself. He was restoring the honor of the family, defending the integrity of their father's legacy, and proving that no one could rewrite history through lies. The lawyer's once cocky demeanor crumbled as Jamal revealed the recorded conversations, emails, and inconsistencies. Each piece of evidence was undeniable, and the courtroom atmosphere shifted from curiosity to disbelief, and finally to awe at Jamal's meticulous preparation and fearless delivery. He had transformed from a betrayed son into a champion of justice. Smash that like button if you believe courage and truth can overcome any deception, because Jamal is proving it right now. As the trial progressed, Jamal's siblings provided testimony, confirming their knowledge of their father's wishes and their shock at the lawyer's manipulations. The collective testimony, combined with Jamal's irrefutable evidence, painted a clear picture of the lawyer's deceit. The judge, reviewing the overwhelming proof, nodded gravely, clearly impressed by the young man's composure and determination. Finally, after hours of tense proceedings, the judge rendered a verdict. After reviewing all evidence, including the codicil and supporting documentation, it is clear that Mr. Jamal is entitled to an equal share of the estate, alongside his siblings. Furthermore, the court finds evidence of intentional misrepresentation by the lawyer, which will be subject to further legal scrutiny and potential disciplinary action. The room erupted. Jamal's siblings embraced him, tears streaming down their faces. The lawyer sat in stunned silence, unable to deny the outcome. Justice had been served, not just in the form of inheritance, but in the vindication of truth, honor, and family. Jamal, breathing deeply, allowed himself a moment of relief and triumph. Every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, had led to this victory. But beyond the material gain, Jamal understood something far more profound. He had reclaimed his identity, his rightful place in the family, and proved that courage, integrity, and determination could overcome even the most calculated deception. His father's legacy was safe, honored, and intact. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment Justice Served if you love seeing the underdog rise, and share the story so others know that truth always wins. As Jamal walked out of the courtroom, sunlight streaming through the tall windows, he felt lighter than he had in weeks. He had not only overcome betrayal, but had inspired everyone who had doubted the power of resilience. The lawyer's lies were exposed, the truth restored, and a family reunited in honor, respect, and love. This was the comeback Jamal had fought for, a moment that would be remembered not just for the inheritance, but for the courage, strategy, and heart that had carried him through every obstacle. He had turned a moment of betrayal into a triumph of truth, leaving a lasting legacy for himself, his siblings, and the memory of the father who had taught him to never back down. Before we reveal the final twist, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and comment. Your support keeps stories like Jamal's alive, and trust me, the ending will blow your mind. After the courtroom verdict, Jamal stepped outside, feeling a surge of emotion he had never experienced before. The air was crisp, carrying a sense of freedom and triumph. The sun, breaking through clouds that had lingered all morning, shone on him like a spotlight on the hero of a story that had seemed impossible just weeks ago. Jamal's siblings followed close behind, laughter and tears mingling as they celebrated a victory that was about more than just inheritance. It was about justice, family, and reclaiming identity. Jamal paused to take in a moment. Every obstacle, every sleepless night, every pang of doubt had led to this. The lawyer who had attempted to manipulate, deceive, and erase him from his father's legacy had been exposed. Justice had been served, and the weight that had pressed on Jamal's heart for so long finally lifted. He realized that the fight wasn't about wealth. It was about dignity, respect, and the legacy of the man who had raised him. But victory wasn't instant peace. Jamal knew that this confrontation had taught him something more profound than winning in court. It was about standing up when everyone doubts you, about trusting your instincts when the world seems determined to deceive you, and about fighting not just for yourself, but for the principles that define who you are. Every moment of fear, uncertainty, and betrayal had been a lesson in resilience. Comment below if you've ever felt underestimated, because Jamal's story proves that courage and truth can overcome even the most calculated deceit. In the days following the trial, Jamal focused on mending the subtle fractures within the family that had been caused by manipulation. He spent hours with each sibling, discussing the ordeal, sharing memories of their father, and reinforcing the bonds that had been tested. Slowly, the lingering tension faded, replaced by a renewed sense of unity. It wasn't just a legal victory. It was an emotional reconciliation, a reaffirmation that family was stronger than any deceit, stronger than any lie, stronger than anyone who tried to manipulate them. Jamal also turned his attention to the lawyer, who now faced disciplinary hearings and potential legal consequences. Seeing the person who had tried to cheat him held accountable was a bittersweet moment. It was a stark reminder that while justice can be delayed, truth cannot be silenced forever. Jamal had learned the power of patience, strategy, and evidence, realizing that righteousness requires more than just moral certainty. It requires action, preparation, and courage. Smash that like button and subscribe if you believe in standing up for yourself, because Jamal's journey is proof that one person's courage can inspire everyone around them. The estate itself, once a symbol of conflict, now became a place of reflection and hope. Jamal walked through the familiar halls, memories of his father echoing in every corner. He remembered late-night talks, shared laughter, and even moments of tension that now seemed small compared to the magnitude of the lessons learned. He had inherited more than wealth. He had inherited wisdom, integrity, and a renewed connection with the family he loved. Jamal also recognized the importance of sharing this story. It wasn't just his victory. It was a lesson for anyone who had faced betrayal, manipulation, or doubt. Life often presents challenges that seem insurmountable, and people often try to define your worth or manipulate your path. But Jamal's journey showed that truth, perseverance, and courage can overcome even the most calculated deception. Every time Jamal thought back to the initial moment when the lawyer lied to him, he felt a mixture of anger and gratitude. Anger, because deceit had threatened to rob him of his legacy and identity. Gratitude, because facing the challenge had transformed him into someone stronger, wiser, and more determined. He realized that adversity often has a hidden purpose: to prepare you for the victories that truly matter, to teach lessons that money cannot buy, and to reveal the strength you never knew you had. Hit the like button right now if you're inspired by Jamal's courage, and don't forget to subscribe. Share the story so everyone knows that lies can be exposed and justice can prevail. As the weeks passed, Jamal became more than just the adopted son who had been betrayed. He became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that identity cannot be erased, and that love and truth will always find their way. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers began to look at him differently, not for the wealth he had inherited, but for the integrity, intelligence, and unwavering determination he had displayed. Jamal's story spread, inspiring countless others to confront dishonesty and fight for their rightful place in life. Ultimately, Jamal learned that the real victory wasn't measured in dollars or property. It was measured in the restoration of trust, the reclamation of identity, and the knowledge that he had stood firm in the face of betrayal. He had honored his father, defended his family, and proved that courage and preparation could topple even the most meticulously planned deception. Jamal looked around at his siblings, now laughing together in the garden of the family estate. The tension, the fear, and the manipulation were gone, replaced by love, trust, and unity. The estate, once a source of conflict, now symbolized resilience, triumph, and the enduring power of truth. Before you leave, smash that like button, subscribe, and comment "Justice wins," because Jamal's journey is a reminder that no matter the odds, truth, courage, and determination will always prevail. As the sun set, casting a warm golden glow over the estate, Jamal felt a deep sense of peace. He had faced lies, betrayal, and doubt, yet emerged stronger and wiser. The lawyer had been exposed, the will honored, and the family reunited. But most importantly, Jamal had claimed something that no one could ever take away: his identity, his integrity, and his rightful place in the family he had always belonged to. And in that quiet moment, as the wind rustled through the trees and the laughter of his siblings filled the air, Jamal understood the greatest lesson of all. Adversity may challenge you, deception may try to sway you, but truth, courage, and love will always guide you to victory.